Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are painting a soft and dreamy sunset with silhouette foreground. We are going to focus on smooth and peachy gradient sky. As you can see, I have pre-mixed the colors. I'm using three colors mainly. One is indigo, second is crimson, and third is Hansa Yellow. I have pre-mixed the three shades that I'm going to use. One is a mix of indigo and crimson with a very little indigo in it. Second is crimson plus Hansa Yellow. I started by wetting the paper evenly with clean water. Make sure there's a soft sheen, no puddles. This will help our colors blend beautifully. While the paper is glistening, I'm starting from the top with a mix of indigo and crimson and keep it light. We just want soft transition into sunset shades. Now I'm introducing Next, I introduce crimson and let it blend on the paper because our paper is still wet. The blends are going to be smoother. Slowly, I introduce the peachy warm color mix of crimson and Hansa yellow in the last layer or the as a last addition to my background, and I let them blend as I find the blue and the violet tone drifting away from the crimson and the blends are separated. I try to mix them together by moving the color pigment around a bit, and then I'm also seeing some puddles form, so I'm going to get rid of them using my damp brush and wipe it off the paper towel on the paper towel and so that there are no more puddles forming on my background and I'm able to keep blend smooth and seamless. Now here I feel that when I lifted off the water from the paper, the blue and the violet tone has toned down a lot. So now I'm going back in for another layer while my paper is still wet. So I have created the similar mix and I'm going back in. I also feel in the reference the peachy color starts right at the top. So I'm going to mix another layer for the peachy effect right on the top left of the reference, and I'm able to mix the paint pigment on the paper because the paper is still wet. And be mindful that your brush is not too watery, at the same time your pigment that you're mixing is not too watery or flowy, otherwise you will end up with a puddle again. Now I'm mixing another violet tone with ultramarine blue and crimson, and the mix that I already had, the peachy mix I already had. Now because I am constantly fighting the fact that blues dry lighter than they appear when they are wet. Now moving to the foreground, I'm using Burnt Sienna by Daniel Smith to paint the foreground because it has a granulating quality to it, and I want to take advantage of that and make my foreground look more natural. So I'm using a granulating shade of burnt sienna. Now I'm going to create more depth in the foreground by mixing the burnt sienna with indigo and keeping the composition cohesive by using the same colors and mixing them together. Now you see on the left side of my painting the paper isn't dry, so my burnt sienna blended into my sky, and now there is a harsh line forming where the crimson meets the peachy area. That is kind of bothering me and my eye, so what I tilted my paper a bit to make the flow go downwards and use gravity to my advantage and see if that could stop the burnt sienna from flowing into the sky. But I see that it's not helping much because the burnt sienna is blending into the sky. I wanted to also
was
achieve
rethinking my
softer
strategy because
grass
what I
blades,
wanted to do
so I wanted to kind of see if I could take advantage of that dampness in the background by painting the grass blades and build the depth. So I wanted to kind of see if that could help before I do anything else to smoothen out my background. While I was working with the grass blades, I just realized that the line of the Crimson Lake is kind of getting more and more prominent. and this may not have been the solution. So I am going to do is I'm going to dry the paper completely before I go in and work any further on this paper. So after drying my paper, this is how it looks, and you can see there is kind of harsh edge or kind of bloom that has formed there. I'm going to re-wet my entire paper with a synthetic brush right now because I want to move a little bit of pigment on the bottom. What I'm mindful of is every time I go in with my brush, I clean my brush of the pigment and I go in with a clean brush every time, else I will transfer my burnt sienna pigment to my sky, so which I did not want. So I was mindful of that when I was re-wetting my paper. Once my paper was re-wet and blended well, I dried it again with the heat gun or the hair dryer, whatever you have available. And then I went in with painting the burnt sienna and indigo mix into my foreground. I kept this mixture a little medium mix, which is a equal ratio of pigment and water, because I wanted to use that flowiness to pull the grass plates with my rigger brush. I am not rigger doesn't hold too much pigment, so I'm trying to move the pigment from my base layer and kind of pull it into making grass. I'm using the tip of my brush and flicking it upwards to create the grass and foliage. Vary the pressure so that the blades look thin and thicker. This step is very therapeutic, and I enjoy the repetition of the movement. Keep things uneven so that it looks natural and organic rather than made up. So keep the grass blades unevenly thin and thick. Keep the foreground area uneven and not a straight line. Also, to add texture, tap and splatter some of the mixture on the grass area to add effect, and a little bit of water on the foreground area to kind of show a muddy mixture and use the granulation to add drama to your painting. As you can see, I'm adding splatters now with a bigger brush because I need the droplets to not be very thin or small. I want it to be a good consistency so that they are visible. So you see, as I was putting the droplets, I dropped my brush on the foreground, but that's okay because it gives even more natural look. I am not going to stress over the fact that it's not as perfect. I'm kind of embracing the fact that it looks beautiful and it looks organic and natural. So I'm just adding a few more grass blades for the unevenness, some small, some big, to add interest to that area. And then it finally occurred to me that I have some Ferris wheel ink, which is a little more on the orange side. I want to show that into my painting, so I decided to bring that out and add some bit of it or drop some bit of it in the foreground to show sun hitting the grass area and getting that golden glow. So here I'm adding a little bit of that shade into the foreground, and I'm going to again flick my brush to get that grass blades to have a little bit of that orange glow. I'm not sure if it's visible to you in the video, but it looks beautiful in person because it has a little bit of shimmer in it, and that has added to the beautiful glow of the painting. I am very happy with the way it's turning out. It's about time to stop painting. I I also suggest do not overwork your painting. So I feel this is a good spot for me to stop, and that's it. I think soft glowing sunset with a loose foreground silhouette is perfect for a day where you want to relax and paint. This is such a beginner friendly piece to practice washes, blending, and of course fixing those unwanted hard edges. Thank you so much for painting with me today. I'll see you in the next one.